Victor and I used to work together for a long time, and we've been through some trials and tribulations together, and I helped Victor through some things, Victor helped me through some things, and not too long ago, he reached back out to me, and he had lost his job, and he and I wanted to try to find a way to get back to work together, and I've been getting these inspirations and listening to the Word of God and stuff like that, so I started doing a few videos, and I started sharing them with Victor, and over the last several months, he and I have made a real strong connection, and he's helped me with the message that I'm carrying. To give you a little small background, I grew up like everybody else, man. Struggles, trials, tribulations, parents struggling, having a hard time, parents going through divorce, moving all over the place, adversity in life that all of us deal with. Got into the wrong things, drugs and different things like that. When I was a young kid, man, probably 14, 15 years old, was probably one of the first times that I really was introduced to God, and my mom had some Bible study people come over, and I paid a lot of attention. I listened to it, but at that time, going out and sharing that with my friends that I was out partying with, I got ashamed and kind of backed off of that kind of stuff, but my mom, gave me an introduction to it that started to carry through my life. And as life went on, I wasn't a terrible person. I had good morals, good values and stuff like that. My family was a good family. But when you get off in the wrong things and you get off going down the wrong path, life happens, but life happens in a little bit different way. Life is always going to hit every one of us in the face, and there's going to be diversity. No matter, if you're righteous, if you're following God, if you're not following God, if you're just living life. I've come to find out the more I believe, the more I follow God, the adversity comes in a different form, in a different way. It's easier to deal with, and a lot of it isn't self-inflicted. So, when we're out there doing the wrong thing in life, the adversity that hits us, a lot of it is self-inflicted. So we can change a lot of that, in ourselves, by changing ourselves. Anyways, I moved through life, and, I'm partying and stuff like that, and, I always had this feeling inside of me that there was something bigger, that there's something better for me, there's something greater for me, that I don't need to be doing these things. And I had these good friends I'm out hanging out with, laughing, having a good time, but I always felt like that there was something special, that there was something that I had to offer that these people that I'm hanging around with didn't have to offer, didn't understand. So life goes on, and I get in my 20s, and I've tried to stop doing the drugs that I'm doing. I wasn't doing anything bad. I smoked a little marijuana and drank some alcohol and stuff like that. But I always tried to stop doing that stuff. And I never truly reached out to God and asked God to help me. It was all on self-will. And I've come to find out that although man is a man, we have some strong will inside of us, but it is a fraction of what God has for us. If we ask God to, hey, let me live in your will, definitely life is not as hard. So I finally came to a point in life that it was time for me to change, time for me to do something different. And I'll never forget a lady I went and visited. She looked at me and told me I was full of crap, that I wasn't going to do anything any different, that I was going to continue doing the same thing that I'd been doing to get out of her office and leave her alone. And that was kind of shocking to me. I didn't like that too much. Anyway, to make a long story short, ever since that day, and I was probably 24 years old, I'm 49 years old now, I haven't touched any of that stuff, haven't done any of that stuff, and it is definitely by the power of the grace of God that I was able to do that. Now, back then, I didn't have quite the understanding that I have now of God. But it took falling down to my knees, surrendering, giving everything over to God, and I got a real good concept of that. When you go through these things, you go to these recovery places, and they have sponsors and stuff like that. Well, I couldn't find a sponsor for me. I couldn't find someone that I believed in, that I wanted what they had. So people would ask me, well, who's your sponsor? I'd say, God is. And I've come to find out that through all the motivational speeches that I listen to and the books that I read, there's a lot of people out there in the world that motivate me, that move me in business and different things like that. But nothing's ever motivated me and moved me like God does. And if you listen to all that kind of stuff, you find out. I had a preacher tell me that yes, I can motivate you. Yes, I can, preach the word to you and get you to understand things. But if you want true motivation, you've got to reach yourself out to God. You can't come to me and expect me to motivate you and expect me to give you what God can give you, because only God can give you that. That was something that was real strong for me. So in the last year or so of my life, I lost a job that paid a ridiculous amount of money, and I've always made really good money at what I've done. When I went through recovery, I learned that God closes doors and opens other doors. And I've had 3 long-term jobs, but each time that door closed, I never got real frustrated or real angry. I knew that there was something bigger coming. And I didn't freak out, I didn't panic. I wouldn't apply for jobs and stuff like that. But I knew that it was coming, so I went through some tough times. But in this last year, I have went through some very difficult times. I got lied on, I got blackballed, I got stabbed in the back. I brought people to this place of employment that had nothing going on in their life, lost everything. Elevated them and brought them up, and they stabbed me in the back, and I lost the job. But since then, I've been regrouping myself and getting, a lot more in contact with God and trying to understand the things that are important in life. And, the why I'm here and who am I, those are things that I've struggled with for a long time. And, I thought that going out there in the world and being a successful businessman, making good money, buying a house, providing for the family, and doing all those kind of things, I felt like that was at the forefront of what was important. But what I found out, it didn't have nothing to do with that. The who I am, it doesn't mean what do you do for a living. The who I am is real simple. And I think that if we can grasp this and get this, every step through life is easier. And the who I am, I can now say, I am Tim. I'm a child, I'm a son of the Most High God. And I've got royal blood running through me. I was put here on earth to reign for my time that I'm here. As long as I don't fall too in love with the things that man can bring, a house, a car, fancy things that, God didn't put me here to be groveling, to be mediocre, to, struggle through life. He put us here to prosper. He put us here to reach out, help other people, love other people. And in the meantime, we're supposed to, in this day and time, well, there's air conditioning. We're supposed to have air conditioning. We're supposed to have a nice house. We're supposed to earn a good living. We're supposed to take care of our family. We're supposed to have all of those things. And, now that my focus is on that, I'm chasing spirituality more than I am money. The money will come. And I've had it come to me several different times. But what I found out that if I'll put the money to the side, put the job to the side, put all that stuff to the side, and get all the things that God wants me to have, well, He promised me. And the good thing about God is His Word's good. He's not going to go back on it. And God said, hey, if you have faith in me and you honestly believe in me and you try to do your best to walk the path with me, the world can be yours. Everything in your heart's desire can be yours. It doesn't mean that I want to go out there and chase God because I say, oh, God's going to give me gold, God's going to give me money, this and that. No, it ain't like that right there. Yeah, sure, would I like to have all those things? Yeah, I would. But the things that God gives me by chasing Him and trying to discover and trying to learn about Him, the fulfillment that it gives me inside of me is much more than any amount of money or anything could do for me. I know that, and I believe this a lot, God has steps for us that we have to go through in life to get to where we want to go. And I've reached a point in my life that I'm willing to accept whatever steps God has for me to reach my destiny. And my destiny, I believe, is vast. One of the beautiful things that I've learned is I don't need to see the full picture. I don't need to see what's going to happen in a month. I don't need to see what's going to happen in a year. God said, I'm going to give you a lantern, okay, and it'll show you right in front of you what's there. But other than that, you just got to keep walking. So when I'm going through life and I'm having diversity and I can't pay this bill and I can't pay that and this is threatening me and this job fell through and this guy lied to me, all I get is that lantern. I don't need to see 6 months down the road. Every day when I get up, all I need to see is that, hey, I'm going to do the best I can do today to walk with God. I'm going to do the best that I can do today to reach my hand out and help my neighbor, to love people. And in the end, I know everything's going to work out. One of the things that really inspired me this go around in my life is I've had some spirituality before. I have. That's what got me clean and everything. And I stood up in a meeting one day and I felt real good, inside my core. And I said that, my disease, my addiction, I call you out right here, right now. Bring me everything that you got, because what I got inside of me is stronger. And later on in life, I found out that the forces that are for me are much stronger than the forces that are against me. And that's what basically I was calling out at that point. But now that I'm getting older and I want to make my destiny be fulfilled, I have to remember some things. When life gets hard, life gets down, and you're so far kicked down that you don't know if you can get back up. One of the things that's kept me going is to remember all of the mercies that God gave me. There's been times that I should have been dead. I should have been killed in 3 or 4 car accidents, because I wrecked 3 or 4 cars, and I by all means should have been dead. And I didn't. By the grace of God, I didn't. The drugs and stuff that I did, there was times that, those things probably should have taken me out and probably should have killed me. I had my son at a young age and had a terrible relationship with her and almost lost my son, but by the grace of God, He gave me my son. So those are things that I go back and I try to remember and I try to reflect on, that God got me out of this terrible, terrible thing. There's no reason why He can't get me out of this next one. But the only way that I'm going to get God to get me out of it, you can't be, one of these people that every time life gets terrible, you don't even have to come to church or anything like that. But it's funny, you'll hear people now cry out to God. God help me, God help me, Well, I found out it does not necessarily work like that. Now, God, I believe, will help people from time to time. But the people that God really wants to reach out to is someone with some faith. It's difficult to, I'll never do it again, God, but, He's seen you do it again 1,000 different times. What are you doing today? If I get fired from my job and I never have accepted God, asked Him to be my Savior, it's going to be real hard for me to pray and ask for things. Prayer is a beautiful, wonderful thing, and we all do it, but it's not the prayer, it's the belief. When you go and you say, God, help me get through this, help me get through that, do you believe that God is going to do it for you? See, me, every day that goes by in my life, I know that I'm going to find a way. Not myself, but through God. So, believing that the prayer can come true, expectantly asking God, knowing that God has the power to make these things come through, that's where the prayer is really strengthened. I've heard many people, pray for things and, they don't necessarily believe it's going to be true, but they're going to pray for it. You can't pray for something that you don't believe is going to be true. It's just like all these motivational things. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. And, if you're trying to be a famous football star, or you're trying to, run the Olympian or something like that, and you're telling yourself every day, every night, I'm not going to be able to make it, I'm not going to be able to make it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Well, you can't do it. The same thing as that. I had to eat humble pie, and all of us in this room has had to eat some humble pie at one time. Sometimes we'll take a bite of it and spit it out. It's that humble pie that you eat that you actually enjoy. The pain that we go through in life, when we endure that pain and grow from that pain, that's when we get elevated to that next step in life. Pain is a terrible thing for us to deal with, man. It can knock you down. Life is one of those things that it don't matter, like I said, if you're doing right, if you're doing wrong, life's going to come, life's going to get you, life's going to knock you down. And it's not about the part of getting knocked down, it's part, are you going to get back up? And I found out that as a man, I can get into myself and try to get my willpower to get me back up. And from time to time, yeah, I can. I cannot get up near like I can get up when I reach my hand out to God and say, God, this terrible thing that's happened to me, this wrong thing that happened, these people that lied on me, these people that stole from me, these people that stabbed me in the back, I'm trusting that your word is good, and I'm putting that on your account, because God said, if you get lied to, if you get done wrong, if you get stabbed in the back, if you get your things taken from you, and you have some faith, you have some belief, you can put that on God's account, and God says, I'll pay you back double. I'll pay you back twofold. I strongly believe in that. And I'll give you a little scenario. In this year that I was off of work, I sold a few things of mine to, keep ends meet, pay bills. I had a 67 Camaro, probably worth $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. Ran into a guy, he said, hey, I'm going to find you a buyer for it. Found me a buyer for it. Lo and behold, he sold it. He just forgot to give me my money. That didn't work out too good for me. Well, anyways, I'm praying about this stuff, man, and I'm trying to stay good with this guy because he's a criminal. And if I go get face to face with him, well, he's going to tell me to, blow me off, and I'm not going to get anywhere with him. So I went and seen the police. They said, hey, you've got to get some current checks and get them deposited so that we can prosecute the guy. So I stayed in good contact with the guy, stayed in good grace with the guy, and made him think that I believed he was still trying to get my money when he knew it wasn't. Anyways, I got these checks and I got them turned into the bank. We prosecuted the guy. They found my car. They got my car picked up. I'm like, great, man, I'm almost there. Another 3 or 4 months went by, and we finally went to a hearing. And now this car got taken from me, and the guy that took it from me sold it to another guy. So that guy got done wrong too. He did. He got done dirty too. And real nice guy, real good people. But anyways, make a long story short, I get to the court, and the lawyer introduces himself to the judge and says, yeah, I don't know you, but I spent a whole lot of time with your father in the courtroom. Yeah, I remember you. And by the way, I brought the banker. This guy went and took a loan out to obtain this car, and he knew the banker as well. Well, it should have been a real short, sweet deal. It'd be like him stealing your gun, taking it to the pawn shop. Well, the cops find out, you get your gun back, and the pawn shop's just out for the money. That's just how the world works. So I thought, no problem of it. It took the judge, 2 minutes. Well, I hadn't registered the car in my name, but I had proof it was mine. I had a cashier's checks where I paid for it, 10, 12 letters. I'd owned the car for 15 years, pictures of it in my garage, everything in the world that proves that it's mine. And the judge told me that he's going to award the car to the other guy because the reason we're here is because I failed to register it. And I said, so you're telling me that had I registered the car, that guy wouldn't have stolen it, taken it from me, sold it to this guy, and if it was in my name, he wouldn't have forged my name like he forged this other guy's name. And that was the end of it. I had a choice to make. And, any of you guys in here, your $30,000 car that you had and it got stolen and you finally got it back and you're in front of the judge, that's some anger issues that you got to deal with right there. And I'm not as hot-headed as I used to be, and I'm grateful because I probably would have been tased and been flopping around on the ground, and I don't think there'd have been any justice in that. So at that very moment, I had to make a choice. And what I did is I took that and I gave it to God, and I said, well, you know what, God? If you'd have just given me my car back, it wouldn't have been double. And you promised me when I get stolen from, when I get robbed, when I get taken advantage of, if I have faith in you, then you're going to pay me back double. And I said, this man, I don't know what his situation is. He may not be able to deal with this very well. He may not be able to handle it as well as I do. So I was grateful that the guy got the car. Now, if you can imagine that happening to you, what's going to happen to you an hour later, 3 days later, trying to go to bed at night and all those things spinning around in your head of what could have been done, what could have been said, what could have been done different. So I asked God, God, please don't let me think about this stuff when I go to sleep, because I want to go to sleep. And I know me, those things would have been traveling around in my mind, and I was able to release that stuff and let go of it and give it to God. And to this day, now this just happened about a week ago, to this day, I'm okay with it. Yeah, it hurts, get robbed, get ripped off. But when we can go through life and something like that hit us that hard, and we try to have faith that God is going to repay us, and we believe that He is, I firmly believe now it may be in the form of a job that He gives me. I don't know where it's going to come from. I have no idea. It may be in some growing faith for my son. It may be in a family relationship that I'm repaid. One thing that I say is that there's a certain fire that's inside of you that God placed inside of you, and He gave it to every one of us. Now, every one of us have a choice of what we're going to do with that, and some people's fire burns a little brighter than others. Right now, my fire burns very, very bright. Now, it doesn't burn so bright for all of the worldly things, all of the money and the riches and the cars and the houses and stuff like that. It burns for the things that I know I have to do in life in order to get these gifts of abundance from God. It was explained to me, and I love this analogy, that up on some shelves in heaven or wherever God resides at, every one of you, me, and everybody else in the world has a certain amount of boxes sitting up there. And in those boxes are favors, inventions, opportunities, relationships, promotions, businesses you want to start, a relationship that you want to rekindle with a lost loved one, a son, a daughter. And they're all up there, and it's a shame because there's a lot of people that whenever they get up there, if they do get up there, those boxes are still going to be sitting there. Now, I've cashed a few of those boxes in, and God's given me a couple of them, but I don't want anything to be left up there when I get there. Those boxes, all I want is some dust around where the box was laying at, and it was handed to me. I just have to chase them. This is a little different than me doing my videos. And first thing, I want to tell y'all that I'm grateful to be here. God works in some really crazy ways, and I love the mystery of the universe and chasing all those things. And man's been trying to find out all along. How was the universe built? How was the universe made? The Big Bang, but how did it happen? And not too long ago, they finally decided that there wasn't nothing there, and then all of a sudden there was something. So somebody had to have a hand in it. Now, they don't all of them want to quite admit that it was God. I know it was God. I think you guys sitting here know it was God. And for me, that's one of the beautiful things that I've got to find out and discover about myself. All the answers of why this, why that, why this, why that, I don't need to know because He told me I don't need to know. He said, you need to know this, you need to do this, you need to do that, and the other things, don't worry about it. So some things I just don't want to worry about. It's eclipse that happened. I heard a guy that was talking, and every time something happens in the world, man, it's end of the world time. It's doomsday. This is it, man. And I don't know. I mean, I find some of that kind of stuff interesting. But this guy had a real powerful speech, and he said, you know what? It don't matter if doomsday's tomorrow or next year, or if you know the date, if you don't know the date, because all you really got is today. And if it happened right now, where are you at? You know, are you on the right side that you need to be at, to where you have that blessing? You're going to be up in heaven. You know, God said that He was going to build a place for us, but I believe if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, when we walk up there, when that judgment day happens, when we die, and there's a bunch of different philosophies on it. But you know, when we die, obviously our body is dead. We don't see anything. We don't hear anything of this earth. And it does say that in the Bible. You know, I believe from what I've read and from what I've learned that our soul leaves at that point. That's not necessarily judgment day, but at that point we go to one of two places. And when that day happens, God doesn't sit there and ask you, do you want to repent now? Do you want to accept me as your Lord and Savior? He don't ask you those questions. It's either you did or you didn't. And if you didn't, it's all over with. The fat lady done sang, you're done. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person, because there's going to be people, and there's going to be a whole lot more people that have this look on their face than people that have the smile on their face. There's going to be people, what do you mean? You know, all this stuff is true? All of this stuff is real? I didn't know. I didn't believe it. You know, God, please, I did this right, and I did that right, and I did that right. And I think at that point, you know, God may give you a hug and a kiss and tell you He loves you, but you're going to the other place. And I don't like to talk about, you know, brimstone and fire and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think a lot of the things that God teaches us and God tries to get us to understand is the loving, the caring, the putting your hand out to helping others. You know, why are we here? You know, we're not here to go run a big corporation. We're not here to, you know, become rich. Now, those are things that can happen, and those are things that can come. The reason that we're here, and it's real simple, is to help others, to love others, to do the right next thing, and all the other things follow. And for me, if I break it down that simple, and I know every day when I get up out of my bed and I go out and I hit the world, and here's the thing, you get up out of your bed and, hey, God, guide me today. God, show me what path to walk. God, you know, show me people that you want me to be introduced with. Direct my steps today. And you walk out there and that front door opens and that neighbor's yakking at you, you know, and you get down the road and the guy's flipping you off because he ran the stop sign. Well, you know, it's hard to keep going forward at that point. But you have to. You have to keep going forward. And every day that I put behind me, that every chance I had to do the right next thing, my day winds up better. And the big thing that keeps me going is I don't have to beat myself up because I wasn't perfect in that day. God never expected me or you or anybody else to be perfect. All He expected was to try. A beautiful thing that I find, I'm fascinated with, you know, God, the Bible, and I hadn't read it all. I don't read that good, and I don't know that I'll ever read it all, but I enjoy the things that I find in there. And there's, you know, the 12 disciples. And this is what makes me know that just plain old ordinary man of who I am, I have every opportunity in the world that everybody else does to go to heaven, to prosper in life, to reign in life. Well, the disciples, you know, they weren't perfect people. The disciples were chosen not because they knew all the scriptures, not because they could quote all the Bible verses, because they knew all the knowledge. They were chosen because they were right inside of their heart. You know, one of them cussed a whole lot. One of them was a tax collector. You know, one of them was I don't know what the other guy did, but you know, these weren't like official men or men of value or valor or anything like that. You know, they wasn't preachers or anything. When they first got chosen, it was because Jesus went to them, God went to them, and they had what they needed to have inside of their heart. So when we walk through life, you know, I don't think it's so much of you know, quoting the Bible verse by the name, by the number, and, you know, coming to church and, you know, singing and doing all the gospel things. I think that part's important, but it's more, what are you doing when you're out of here? What are you doing when you're walking around in earth? You know, what are you doing when that person needs some help that's next to you, when they're broke down on the side of the highway and you've had a long day of work and you just really don't feel like messing with it? I think, you know, at that point, you got to turn around, you got to do the right thing. One thing I struggle with is, I got a lot of people, I don't know why it is, but especially here in the last year since I've been broke and I hadn't been able to pay my bills, it seems like every day somebody knocks on my window and asks me for $1 or $2 so I can get something to eat, so I can do this, so I can do that. One guy told me, he said, my girlfriend got the car repoed and he didn't have no teeth, and he said, my teeth are in there and you get my teeth back and I'm $7 away. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no money, but I gave him the $7. You know, doing the right thing. I went to the grocery store and they gave me too much change back. Man, I needed that couple extra dollars. I really did, but you know, I couldn't find it myself to keep it because I knew that person was going to wind up getting charged back for it. You know, for me, it's those small things that add up. So when that big thing comes across, you know, I'm able to do the right thing. God's put some wonderful things in my life and given me great opportunities. But, you know, I want people to understand that life is going to deal you these things, and God promised you that it's going to rain on you. God promised there's going to be night seasons, and you're going to wake up and the sun's going to shine. And, you know, we all got to find a certain way to get through the day and get through the adversity that we have. You know, for me, one of the biggest things that made me proud to say that I'm a son, I'm a child of the Most High God, is the promises that God gave each and every one of us, man. And for me to realize that the seed that He put inside of me of greatness, of creativity, of integrity, of desire, of want to, you know, those are things that God gave me, that gave every one of us the same opportunity. You know, I believe very much in this. Our best days are in front of us. And nothing that's happened thus far in life to anybody in this room has been able to take you out yet. Every one of us has dealt with something, man, a disease, a tragedy in our family. We lost a loved one, and we didn't think there was any way that we could make it out of the darkness. And we did. You know, God has more plans for us. You know, it does say that we shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It doesn't say that you're going to hang out there and stay there for the rest of your life. It says that you're going to walk through it. And some people, they get in that valley and they forget that they climbed out